The news is live on Joy 99.7 FM here in Accra and Kumasi. We are live on Love 99.5 FM and over 30 affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions, including Kekeli Radio in Ho, A1 Radio and Dreams FM in Bolgatanga, Sky FM in Sunyang and Victory FM in Aflao. On your digital platforms, you can listen to us live on Spotify and myjoyonline.com app. In this edition, new month, new charges as restoration of the price stabilization and recovery levies on petroleum products pushes prices further up as LPG marketers warn the hike will push more people to use charcoal.
This is the standard. We have always been expecting the standard year in, year out.
Once a time, Kenya was a butcher boy. He was a go far away. Once a time, Bismarck was a butcher boy.
An energy analyst is partly blaming all marketing companies for the hikes as he demands government abolishes the deregulation program.
All these four companies buy their fuel at the same place. They don't. They don't have the same overheads. They don't have the same operational efficiencies. So they all cannot price at the same price. The only reason they do that is because of cartelling.
But how are the new prices impacting on you?
Against the increment of the LPG. So in short, even the KK, master, if I bought the 2 city ball, I'll swallow it at once. I'm telling you.
Also this afternoon, 3-member committee completes fact-finding mission on circumstances leading to the Apieti explosion as sector minister promises to execute recommendations to the letter.
We should be able to review this report as soon as possible, almost immediately, and be able to come to a firm conclusion as to what are the necessary steps we have to take.
And as Parliament prepares to hold crunch debate on proposed e-levy, the governing NPP is demanding that NDC MP James Jachikwason desist from holding himself as a legislator.
We are also asking the court to enjoin the gentleman not to hold himself as such. As we are aware, the High Court of Cape Coast has already given judgment.
I'll also take you to Wale Wale, where residents have been speaking to Vice President Baumia, his home region actually, and they are pleading with him to stop passage of the e-levy.
His Excellency the Vice President. The only safe haven for this woman, my brother the Vice President, is that they've always been able to elude the armed robbers by putting the money in their wallet.
We don't want it today, we don't want it tomorrow.
We have details of that, and Muftar, who is also from that area, brings us sports.
And now let's hear from former Chief Executive Officer of Kumasi Asante Kotoko, Herbert Mensah. He says that the Ghana Football Association have let Ghanaians down and should right the wrongs after Ghana's woeful performance in the African Cup of Nations. And
much later, as ECOWAS leaders meet over the political crisis in Burkina Faso today, we'll tell you how the situation is impacting trading activities in Ghana's border communities. We have that and more in today's edition of the Midday News with me, Emefa Apau. Many thanks for choosing us. We are your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. Many thanks for choosing us. And you'll be paying more for fuel or gas today. And this is because government, through the National Petroleum Authority, has restored the price stabilization and recovery levies on petroleum products. President Akufo-Addo had directed the National Petroleum Authority to extend the removal of the PSRL on petrol, diesel and LPG to the end of January. Following the exhaustion of the grace period, the NPA has restored the levies. The development has already pushed prices of petrol and diesel beyond the 7 cedis per litre at the pumps. My colleague Elton Brobe joins me in studio with more from the NPA statement. So what exactly has the NPA saying in terms of explanation?
So this is dated the 31st of January 2022 and the letter is addressed to all oil marketing companies. Now, it provides reference as to the directive that came from the presidency and what they've done so far. And the letter says that as per the said letter mentioned above, the National Petroleum Authority informs you that government had approved an extension of the removal of the PSRL on petrol, diesel and LPG for another month after the original 2 months removal ended on the 31st of December 2021. We hereby wish to inform all oil marketing companies and LPG marketing companies that effective 1st February 2022, that's today, the levies on petrol and diesel and LPG have been fully restored as shown in the table below. And we have petrol, 16 pesos more added to it, diesel, 14 pesos, and LPG, 14 pesos. Now, as you're already aware, as per Section 3 of the Energy Sector Levies Act, as amended, the levies is a source of revenue for the payment of subsidies on premise fuel and residual fuel, and therefore a perpetual removal of the levy from the PBU, that's the price build-up, will negatively affect the payment of subsidies to the suppliers of these products and threaten their continuous supply to consumers. All oil marketing companies and liquefied petroleum gas companies are to take note of the above and apply them in their price build-up accordingly. And they provided attached a list of ex-pump price computation template that is taking effect from today, 1st February 2022. And again, the addition to petrol is 16 pesos, diesel is 14 pesos, and LPG is 14 pesos. The interesting, or better still, the other angle to this story is that the window or the price window for whether there's going to be an adjustment or a decrease will take place before the weekend. And looking at the price of crude oil on the world market and our CD against the dollar, we are likely to see another increment. So perhaps a double barrel, if you like.
So that's how we ushered in the month of February, which is supposed to be the month of love. So the sad news also is that the prices could go up again this weekend, like Elton has been saying, due primarily to the rise in the world market, which currently sells at $92 per barrel. That's crude. So Vice President of the LPG Marketers Association has been reacting to this, Gabriel Kumi. He says the increment will defeat government target of encouraging the use of gas instead of charcoal.
Thank you once again, Kojo. Obviously, this is expected to push up the price of LPG. And as you rightly know, LPG is a very sensitive product to price. So any peso increase in the price of LPG goes a long way to reduce the consumption of the product. The irony of the situation is that government has set itself an objective to increase consumption of LPG from the current 25% penetration level to 50% by the year 2030. One who asks, why did Cabinet set such an objective for the product called LPG? Cabinet singled out LPG as the only petroleum product that a target has been set by His Excellency the President and his Cabinet to increase its consumption. They did not single out petrol, they did not single out diesel, they did not single out aviation fuel. They singled out LPG, which means that government itself has seen the importance, the need for us as a country to push up consumption of LPG. But you cannot eat your cake and have it.
Well, he's also been raising concerns about government not listening to their concerns.
There's very little we can do at this point than to appeal to government to reconsider some of these decisions, to look into some of these things very, very, very carefully, especially, again, the backdrop of the fact that government has set itself an objective to increase consumption of the product. You cannot sit down and watch prices going up uncontrollably. There's the need for us to take measures, very serious measures, to bring prices of LPG down. We have presented papers to MPA, to Ministry of Energy, but we don't seem to be making any headway.
That's the Vice President of the LPG Marketers Association, Gabriel Kumi. Well, energy analyst Kojo Poku wants government to abolish the deregulation policy. He blames the oil marketing companies partly for the rise in petroleum products.
About 20% to 30% of the cost in the price build-up of what you and I pay is inefficiency and over profit margin by the OMCs and the BDCs. OMC is the only business in Ghana that you can do where you only need the outlets and you don't need a working capital. People come, give you the petrol or the diesel, you take it, take my money for the fuel that you sell, and pay the person who gave you the product in 60 days. And that 60 days, you use the money for whatever we don't know. And that is not acceptable. We need to unbundle this whole policy and start from scratch. If not, the average Ghanaian will be burdened day on day. Until GWEL recently started pricing lower than the top three. In the past, they were top four. Then GWEL came out of that. And even when GWEL did that, the OMCs the Association of OMCs, which I have always said that is a cartel, and nobody believes me, had a problem with Guel coming out of that always priced at the same top four.
Well, so how is this increment actually impacting on you? Have you bought fuel already? Some of you called into the Super Morning Show.
Anytime I go to the filling station to buy gas, truth be told, people buy 25 cedis, 30 cedis. The funny thing is, even my own house, 2 tenants of mine, we are only 3. They have bought what they call taco, and then now they are using coal-pot. That's too much. The price is too much because we have gas here, and then gas price keeps on going up, and they will tell you it is exchange rate and whatever be the case. It's a lie.
Could you believe that for some months now, I have only 1 cylinder. I have not been able to fill it. Now they've increased the price again. It means that I'll have to just pack it. How much is the salary increment this year? Have we committed a crime that we should go and vote for the politicians? Is it a crime?
This wage implementation by cutting trees in the forest will never stop.
Some of your calls into the Super Morning Show on the increment on fuel prices. Now, Lands and Natural Resources Minister Semola Bujinapo says his outfit will ensure that whoever is found culpable in the Apieti explosion will be dealt with according to the law. 14 persons lost their lives while scores of persons were displaced and several others injured when a truck carrying explosives meant for mining crashed into a motorbike that's believed to have been left on the road, leading to that unfortunate explosion. A couple of weeks after the incident, the fact-finding committee today presented their findings to the Lands and Natural Resources Minister. Chairperson of the committee, Benjamin Aye, during the handing over of the findings, provided details of the scope of work.
We have dispassionately looked at the facts that were presented to us, which we were able to unearth, and objectively we have put together the facts to the extent we could establish them. And on the basis of these, we have presented our findings, and then some recommendations were made. We were able to, over the period, visit the relevant stakeholders. We were able to talk to witnesses to the various incidents, and through the interviews and our observations, we've come up with this report we are going to present this morning. I just need to highlight that we're able to visit the relevant police stations, talk to the commanders, looked at the log records, talked to the police escort assigned for the assignment. We're able to visit Maxam at Eduaprim, talk to the dispatchers and the management as well. We had interviews with the transporter, the explosives driver, the escort driver, the management of Maxam, and also the transporter. We talked to a number of eyewitnesses in the community itself, starting from the chief through a number of others who even helped to convey the injured and so on to the hospitals. And at the end of it all, we have come up with this report, which we believe fairly represents the facts of the case. However, let me emphasize that we will not preempt what the minister will decide to do with our findings and our recommendations.
Meanwhile, Lands and Natural Resources Minister Samuel Abujanapo says his interest is in ensuring that the recommendations of the committee are implemented to the letter.
The terms of reference of the IE committee and the work they did and the report they presented to me was not and is not a criminal investigations. They were not interested in the criminal culpability per se of the incident of Apieti. That continues to be within the remit of the Ghana Police Service. And the other investigations, which I believe are ongoing, be it the Ghana Fire Service and other state agencies. This report and this work is absolutely without prejudice to those ongoing investigations. Neither does it constitute a bar or is without prejudice to any civil liability which may exist in respect of this incident. What I have been interested in as a minister responsible for lands and natural resources, and for that matter mining, is whether or not the regulatory regime of mining as it relates to explosives was adhered to or not.
My colleague Blessed Soga was at that handing over ceremony. He joins us on the line. Blessed, has the minister given any indication as to when exactly implementation of this report will start?
Well, so MFR, about 2 weeks ago, the minister was clear that once the report was out, the commission or the ministry would go ahead and implement the recommendations that are being made by the Ben Aye committee. The committee elapsed their target by a week, hence causing a delay in the release that we're seeing today. But the minister says, regardless of the delay, they would go ahead and implement the findings and the recommendations that are being put through by the three-member committee.
What have you been able to gather from the findings, if any?
It appears that there are concerns about safety and the need to sanitize the protocols, because the Mining Regulations Act 21.7.7 talks about the need for some protocols to be followed when carting explosives. It looks like the committee appears to indict a number of individuals for failing to act as they should. And so we're getting indications that the ministry is very much concerned about reforming the sector and going forward, trying as much as possible that this incident doesn't recur. Mind you, the minister has indicated that this is not a criminal prosecution. So the concern of the ministry is to ensure that they act in a very proactive manner to forestall the incident from recurring.
That's my colleague Blessed Soga there. Let me take you to the court now. And the governing NPP says Asin North MP James Chachikwesen cannot continue to perform parliamentary duties. So Director of Elections Evans Nimako says the judicial process will be used to stop the MP from attending Parliament. We know that the Cape Coast High Court in July 2021 annulled the Asin North parliamentary election, saying Mr. Kwesing was not eligible to contest the polls. An appeal has since been lodged at the Court of Appeal and remains outstanding. A resident of the constituency, Michael Ankuma Nimfa, who initiated the action against the MP seeking the intervention of the Supreme Court. Well, there was a development at the Supreme Court today, and court correspondent Joseph Akable just stormed into the studios. Well, first, we understand that the MP has not been served with this process because the Speaker is out of the country.
And so the registrar of the court was asked whether they've been able to serve the MP with the process, and he responded that they had initially tried to serve the MP through the clerk of parliament, and the clerk told them that they should go ahead and serve to the speaker's office. So they said they took it to the speaker's office, and they were told that the speaker is out of the country, and so they cannot serve that process. But lawyers for Mr. Nimfa, led by Frank Davis, took the view that that process was irregular. As far as they are concerned, there's a standing court judgment that indicates that he's no longer a member of parliament, and so they do not understand why they should have been using the parliament process to serve him with those documents.
Well, so what did the AG's office have to say in particular about it?
The Attorney General Godfrey Dame agreed with this view and made a point that he is no longer an MP because of the judgment at the High Court. And so he also said that the court should rather direct that the service be effected on the MP personally and not use of the parliamentary process. And so the court agreed with that particular view and proceeded to indicate that with the assistance of Mr. Davis, who represents Mr. Nimfa, the process should be taken to the MP personally. For the governing NPP, its Director of Elections, Evans Nimako, who was present in court, says they will use all the legal process to ensure that Mr. Chachikwesen desists from holding himself as Member of Parliament.
For an interpretation of Article 94(2)(a), because we've realized that going to court at the High Court in Cape Coast and the Court of Appeal also in Cape Coast, the lawyer for the NDC MP for Asin North has been raising the issue of interpretation of Article 94(2)(a), and we think that this has to be settled. And so today we are at the Supreme Court to seek interpretation of Article 94(2)(a). In addition to this, we are also asking the court to enjoin the gentleman not to hold himself as such. As we are aware, the High Court of Cape Coast has already given judgment.
Well, so that's Evans Nemaku there in that interaction with him. Did you ask him why now? Why they are proceeding with this action at this time?
Yes, and his response was that this is a matter that they've been following through right from the elections, since the elections ended. So they don't think it's connected to the e-levy issue. And as far as they are concerned, it's simply the case that he should not hold himself as an MP. And that is what they would ensure that the legal process affirms. And so he says he's not linking it to the e-levy discussion, even though I'd asked him that when they succeed in getting this done, and if they had actually gotten it done today, it would have meant that the numbers for the NDC would have reduced. But his response was that they've been pursuing this matter already, and they are still continuing with it.
Well, now that you've been talking about e-levy, let me take you to Parliament, because it's expected to make a showing today. Parliamentary correspondent Kwesi Parker Wilson joins us on the line. Parker, it appears e-levy is not on the order paper today.
Yes, the e-levy hasn't been advertised on the order paper for today's business being Tuesday, the 1st of February. But if you look at the provisional order paper for tomorrow, it's been advertised there. But I must say that the minority leader should raise concern over the absence of the e-levy for today's business, because last week Friday, at the time Parliament was adjourning, the majority leader clearly stated that the e-levy will be taken today. And so when he raised the concerns, he indicated that the minority doesn't want any surprises. So he wants the majority leader to state explicitly when the House will debate on the policy of the e-levy. Well, in response to that, the majority leader says he is yet to make a determination on that, even though it's been captured on the order paper for tomorrow. He will liaise with the minority leader to determine when the e-levy will be taken. And so that is the information.
Well, we're monitoring events closely, but just before I let you off, another issue has come up in Parliament. We know that the Transport Minister, Kweku Foresiama, has been summoned before the Roads and Transport Committee to brief them specifically on the controversy surrounding the operation and launch of the Magdan private jet services. Tell us more.
Right, so the Roads and Transport Committee says the issue, the controversy, or the concerns that has been drawn to them. I mean, they have received information about that, and they don't really have a lot of information on the matter to make any definite statement on it. So they have invited or summoned the Transport Minister to appear before them and brief them on what really happened between Magdan Aviation and the Ghana Airport Company.
Okay, that's a parliamentary correspondent, Kwesi Parker Wilson there. Back to issues relating to e-levy. I'm taking you to Wale Wale now, where residents in that area in the northeast region are calling on the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, to intervene and stop the passage of the e-levy bill into law.
In Wale Wale, just like most parts of rural Ghana, many of the people do not have access to banking services as well as financial literacy. The introduction of mobile money services, however, provided the people with a secure way to safeguard their capital and investment from these criminal gangs, as they no longer carry huge amounts in cash on market trips. Now, with the ongoing controversy over whether or not to pass the electronic transaction levy, residents of Wale Wale have been raising their concerns. Among them, a former Northern Regional Minister, Mr. Abdallah Abakar.
I would want to send a very important word to my elder brother, His Excellency the Vice President. The only safe haven for this woman, my brother the Vice President, is that they've always been able to elude the armed robbers by putting the money in their wallet, Momo wallet.
This man, Hamidu Abakar, a fridge technician in Wale Wale, says the levy will adversely affect his business.
We don't want it today. We don't want it tomorrow. From A to Z. We want him, and we are begging him. He should come out and tell the majority that this for you.
E-levy should not, it's not the policy of Ghana problem. If e-levy was the way forward, then why did they even increase percentile to about 15%? Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia, the Vice President of the Bank of Ghana, he himself said that it is not good for us to tax Momo. So are we now saying that all that he has been telling us was blindfolded that?
You had some residents of Wale Wale there in that report put together by Eliasu Tanko from the Northeast region. This is the Midday News. We are live on Joy 99.7 FM here in Accra and Kumasi. It's on Love 99.5 FM and over 30 affiliates across the 16 regions of Ghana, including Kakeli Radio in Ho, A1 Radio and Dreams FM in Bolgatanga, Pad FM in Damongo. Also live on myjoyonline.com and on Facebook. And we've been talking about the new month, new charges as restoration of the price stabilization and recovery levies on petroleum products pushes prices further up, as LPG marketers warn the hike will push more people to use charcoal instead of gas. I'll also bring you updates on the ECOWAS meeting as we have a number of military coups taking over the sub-region. We'll be right back after the break. Please stay with us. Many thanks for choosing us. Let's do sports now. Mufta.
Yes, Herbert Mensah, former Chief Executive Officer of Kumasi Asante Kotoko, has called on the Ghana Football Association to be empathetic with Ghanaians because they supervise a woeful performance in the ongoing African Cup of Nations. According to him, they let Ghanaians down.
Before we get on to who should coach next, what should we do, removing the Black Stars Management Committee, just swallow a bit of humility. That's the least you can do for the guy who's walking around taking 80 cedis in a month, doesn't know how he's going to live tomorrow, and he's living for the game we love, which is football. Yes, we don't love anything else in Ghana. It's football we love. And their pain, their humiliation. Maybe Nigeria going out, we're laughing that Nigeria went out, but hey, they reached the last 16, and we did not do that. So if I have an appeal to make, is that look, the powers that be, don't be sensitive. Just understand that you let us down. It's the taxpayers' money, it's not your money. You let us down. There's a point of humiliation, that you let us down. Those of us who travel the world, we see Ghanaians in industry, in business, in politics outside, in the sporting world, and our image is lifted because.
That is Herbert Mensah, former Chief Executive Officer of Kumasi Asante.
Have we settled on the Black Stars, coach?
Not yet. The politics is still ongoing.
Okay. Well, let's talk about our Clean Ghana campaign then. And Papani is joining us where they've launched the Operation Clean Your Frontage amidst some protests at Circle, amongst others. Papani, what's the situation where you are?
Yeah, so MFA, earlier I was at the Holy Garden, very close to the Obra spot, where that near chaotic situation was happening here. So we managed to talk to the Regional Police Commander, DCP, Ibisedu, who narrated the series of events, saying that the minister earlier gave the order for some structures there to be demolished, but the residents would not allow their protest, which was to overturn the decision of the minister, was becoming quite chaotic. So there was an order for a policeman to also fire a warning shot, which later dispersed the crowd. But now, hours after that, the demolition exercise has been done, and some of the residents are still displeased, but that has been done. It's now less chaotic than we found it in the morning.
That's my colleague Papani Ashale. Now, ECOWAS leaders have been meeting with the military junta in Burkina Faso. The leaders are trying to convince Lieutenant Colonel Paul Henry Sandaogo Damiba, president of the Patriotic Movement for Safeguard and Restoration, who staged the coup last week. We have an update on this meeting shortly, but right now let's take a look at how the situation in that country is impacting Ghanaian communities along the border. Samuel Imbura is with our partners, A1 Radio, and joins me in studio. He just returned from the Upper East region, and he joins us with details. So we know Ghanaian traders saw some crucial commodities from Burkina Faso, adding to the high volume of trade between the two countries. How have things changed since the coup?
So the norm of trade has always been that the Ghanaian traders move into Burkina Faso with their own laborers, those who trade in tomatoes to go and pluck, and then they'll import them back to Ghana. But there have been some restrictions on human movement from Burkina Faso and into Ghana. So only drivers and their mates are allowed passage. So traders say they have no option than to engage middlemen to transport their goods into the country, which some of these traders say is attracting additional costs to their businesses.
Okay, well, that's interesting, but let's talk about today's meeting, though. What is it supposed to achieve?
Okay, members of ECOWAS and the UN already started the engagements on Monday with the Burkina Faso's ousted president, Roch Marc Christian Kabore, and the new leader, Lieutenant Colonel Paul Henry Sandaogo Damiba, who is the leader of the Patriotic Movement for Safeguarding and Restoration, and the aim of the engagement is to look at the way forward in addressing the security breaches in Burkina Faso. So despite the fact that the regional ECOWAS bloc has suspended Burkina Faso last week, it has indicated that it will work with the new authorities, and ECOWAS leaders from the bloc
will hold a summit in Accra on Thursday to assess whether they should impose sanctions on them or not.
Samuel Imura with our partners, A1 Radio. Thank you so much for that update there. It's time for entertainment. Mapit, so have we missed you? Well, what do we have?
Well, gospel musician Empress Gifty says she appreciates the God bless you, but you need to send her more an account and money and financial support for her music to go further.
If we want this EP, this whole song to go far, it's all about money. It's not God bless you. It's cash. Let's put in so much, because when you go to the secular event, when they are doing their EP launch, you see one person will just get up and say, I will give maybe $3,000, I will give $5,000. But when it comes to gospel, everybody wants to sit down, fold his or her hands, watching you. But everything that we are doing, the crafts, the creativity, is all about money. So I am saying, after you post it, liking and sharing, screaming, watching the video, please send her Momo. Let her send you the bank account and put something to it so that she can do more.
So, God bless you, MFR.
Send me more.
All right.
God bless you at this point. And that's how we end today's edition of the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. MyJoyOnline.com. There are more stories there. E-levy, we don't want it today or tomorrow. Wali residents tell Baumia government restores PSRLs. That's the levies on petrol, diesel, and LPG effective February 1. And MPs who fight in Parliament must be treated as criminals and prosecuted. That's according to Anodompre. You want to visit MyJoyOnline.com for more stories. I am Emefa Apau. We have Living Word with Pastor Menso to build. Building with your strength is part 2. Stay for it.
Business a bit news to say. So the projections from the first quarter show a higher total gross profit for the fiscal year. A bit me a kasa saying,
Nana, goods not land you. He did the port right.
A bit me a say.
Here are your items. Thank you for coming.
A bit me a kasa saying,
yeah.